you're a specialist, an expert on dry lands. Tell us, first of all, what are dry lands, and where are they, and what is their importance? How do they fit into the climate change debate?
Well, drylands are really the area of land around the world that has a very severe dry season each year, what we call semi-arid conditions, where rainfall is low and evaporation is high. And as you know, this is an area where farmers and rural people have been suffering most severely from drought over the past few years. And we have a serious famine in East Africa because those drylands have been affected by drought so badly.
Right, so dry lands are more fragile and more susceptible to the effects of climate change. Yes. They're the first ones to go, are they, in a way? So
yes, that's right.
And what, turn to desert, or?
Well, they can be degraded and desertified. And this was why the UN Convention on Combating Desertification was actually created, was to try to tackle how you could restore and regenerate lands that were becoming degraded and desertified. And we just had that convention a couple of months ago, before the current climate change convention. And we're heartened by the kinds of solutions that are developing for large-scale grassroots participatory restoration of these drylands.
Right. So, I mean, where do we find the bulk of our drylands? Are they all over the world, or are there some areas which have more drylands than others? Which areas are we talking about?
They are actually spread all over the world. But your continents that have the greatest dryland concentration are Australia, Africa, and Asia. But North America has a very large part of its whole territory under drylands as well.
Right. And once you've lost your drylands, once they've been degraded to a certain degree, can they then be restored? Are there methods? Are there means to get them back to sustainable, to make them sustainable again?
Absolutely, there are. But the more degraded an area becomes, the more costly it is to restore it. And what we're finding, however, is that through the efforts of rural communities, if you can rest the land in a dryland situation for a couple of years, it's amazing what can develop in terms of a restored forest vegetation. Lands that look like they're totally stripped of trees have an underground forest of roots and seeds and suckers that can come right back up if you can stop grazing for a short period of time. And if they are left alone for a couple of years, the trees become tall enough to withstand the pressure from livestock, and you could create a woodland savanna out of what was originally a desertified area.
Which, if I'm not wrong, traditional farmers have always known, have known for generations. Is that right? Is
exactly.
a fairly modern phenomenon that we overgraze, that we overfarm these dry lands?
Exactly. And because there's so much population pressure, what we really need is community institutions, new types of institutions that can, in fact, manage these lands more effectively. And it's a win-win for local people. And we found this in Niger. You know, Niger is the poorest country in the world, a country that you wouldn't expect would be a world leader in desertification restoration. But in fact, it has become a flagship that has been talked a lot about here in this conference on climate change, because farmers in Niger got together, developed programs of restoring their land from what was a very desertified landscape right under the Sahara Desert, and now have over 5 million hectares of these beautiful agroforests created by farm communities. It's a miraculous story, actually.
Right, but as simple as leaving the land alone for a couple of years.
Yes, exactly.
Right, okay.
And nurturing the trees that grow on it.
Right.
To provide fertilizer, fodder for the livestock, fuel wood, timber, so that people are gaining from this process. That's the important thing.
At the same time, imagine in the short term, when you've got hungry farmers looking to graze their cattle somewhere or to plant crops somewhere, and you're told you can't touch that land. You know, that land needs to rest for a year or two. It must be difficult to police, first of all.
That's where the institutions need to come in, because it's not a matter of turning all the land into protected area. It's just small areas each year.